area of rectangle and parallelograms. A rectangle is a four-sided shape that has right angles or 90-degree angles, and opposite sides are parallel and also the same length or congruent. Parallelograms, the opposite sides are parallel, also the opposite sides are congruent or equal. The formula to find the area of either a rectangle or parallelogram is the base times the height. The base is how long the shape is, and the height is how tall the shape is. Looking at the first shape, which is a rectangle again has four right angles denoted by the box in each corner, which are 90 degrees. Also, the opposite sides of a rectangle are congruent, and the opposite sides are parallel sides. Using the formula base times height, base is how long the shape would be, which would be 6 inches. The height is how tall the shape is, which is 3 inches. Multiplying 6 times 3 would be 18. For the units of measurement, we have inches times inches. Multiplying inches times inches would be inches squared. So the area of the rectangle would be 18 inches squared. The second shape is a parallelogram. A parallelogram, again, opposite sides are parallel, and also opposite sides are congruent or the same length. The angles for a parallelogram do not have to be 90 degrees. Using the same formula, base times the height. Base, again, is how long the shape is, which would be 20 centimeters, and the height is how tall the shape is from bottom to top in a straight line, which would be 12 centimeters. Multiplying 20 times 12. If you do 2 times 12, that would be 24. And adding the 0 on, 20 times 12 would be 240. cm stands for centimeters. Multiplying centimeters times centimeters, the answer would be 240 centimeters squared. The 15 centimeters in the picture is an extra piece of information that is not necessary to get the answer. And last question for this section. The shape again is a parallelogram shape. Opposite sides again are parallel and opposite sides are congruent. Looking for the base times the height. The base again is how long the shape is along the bottom of the shape. There is no number for the bottom side, but the opposite side is 14, and since it's a parallelogram, the opposite side is also 14. The height, again going from the base, is how tall the shape is from the base to the top of the shape. Going straight up again, the height would be 8. The 10 is not the height since it's a slanted height. We want the height that goes straight up and down, which would be 8. Base times height, or 14 times 18. Multiplying those out, 4 times 8 will be 32. Carry the 3, 8 times 1 plus 3 would be 112. There is no units or measurement for these numbers. If there is no units or measurements, the answer is just a number, which would be 112. A different way to solve the same question, which you can do in geometry, is to rotate the shapes around. If you rotate it, so the 10 is now the base of the parallelogram. The 10 goes straight across. You could also multiply the base 10 times the height. The height again from the base straight up to the top of the opposite side would be the height. In this case, the height is on the outside, shown by a dashed line, which would be 11.2. The base 10 times 11.2 is the same answer as 112. Area of a triangle. The formula for the area of the triangle, similar to a rectangle, is base times height, but we're going to multiply by 1/2 or we can also divide by 2. So the area is 1/2 times base times height. Looking at the first triangle, we have 2 sides given, 3 feet and 10 feet, and the third side is unknown. For the base times the base again is how long the figure is along the bottom of the shape, which would be 10, and the height again must go straight up and down, usually represented by a right angle, so the height would be 3. Multiplying 10 times 3 would be 30, and multiplying by 1/2 is the same as dividing by 2, so 30 divided by 2 would be 15. The units again, FT stand for feet. Feet times feet would be feet squared. So the area of the triangle is 15 feet squared. Second question, and last question for the section. Looking at this triangle, again the formula, it will be the base times the height divided by 2. The base again is how long the shape is along the bottom. For this triangle, 3 represents the left-hand side of the base, and 2 represents the right-hand side of the base. Altogether, the entire base, if you add 3 plus 2, that would be a distance of 5. So the base of the triangle is 5 units. The height again, from the base, the height must go straight up and down, and it's to the very top of the shape. In this case, the height is 4, and the 5 and 4.5 are extra numbers that we won't use for this problem. Multiplying the base 5 times the height 4 would be 20. And since we have a triangle shape divide by 2, so 20 divided by 2 would give us the answer of 10. There is no units listed in the question, so instead of having units, it's just a single number, which is 10. Find the missing value. Looking at the picture shown, there is a parallelogram shape represented by the solid lines where the opposite sides are parallel and congruent. The dashed lines are referenced to other sides. The missing value we're looking for is the variable h. To solve this, we can first find the area of the parallelogram given. The area again is base times height. Base again is how long the shape is along the bottom, which is 0.4, and the height again is the height straight up and down, which in this case is listed on the left-hand side of 0.3. Multiplying the base times the height, 0.4 times 0.3. If you multiply 3 times 4, that would be 12. Each side has 1 decimal, so there's 2 decimal points together, which means our answer should have 2 decimals, which would be 0.12 or 0.12. So 0.4 times 0.3 would be 0.12. That is the area again for the parallelogram. To solve for h, what we can do is rotate the paper around to find the area using 2 different numbers. If you rotate the shape, so the 0.5 becomes the base, how long it is straight across. H is now the height, how tall the shape is, straight up and down. The area is also base times height, or 0.5 times h. The first area we found was 0.12. We can set that to equal to the other area, which again is 0.5 times h. So finding the area 2 different ways for the same shape, you can set those equal to each other and solve for h. To solve for h, you can divide by the number in front, 0.5. The 0.5s will cancel, and we'll have the answer h equals 0.12 divided by 0.5. Dividing decimals, we can use long division. the numerator goes inside the division symbol, 0.12, divided by 0.5. Before we divide decimals, it's a good idea to move the decimal over. So instead of 0.5, it is now 5. And if you move the decimal one time, we'll move the second decimal one time also. So now we have 1.2 divided by 5. 5 doesn't go into 1, but 5 goes into 12 2 times. 2 times 5 would be 10. Subtracting straight down would be 2. Adding a 0 and bringing the 0 down. 5 into 20 goes 4 times. 4 times 5 would be 20, so there would be no remainder. For the answer, we can bring the decimal straight up, 0.24, or the value of h would be 0.24. Looking back at the diagram, there's no units given in the picture, so there's no units on the answer.